Sexual violence has plagued many Nigerian women and girls. This has undeniably affected health, education, and livelihood outcomes. But have you ever wondered how sexual violence fuels unsafe abortions? Over the years, the culture of silence, stigma, and shame has hidden the menace of sexual violence and unsafe abortions in Nigeria. Addressing this challenge poses more difficulties when laws and policies are not reinforced to protect women and girls from sexual violence and expose them to permanent injuries and deaths from unsafe abortions. Ipas Nigeria Health Foundation, in collaboration with Academy for Health Development and Center for Research and Preventive Healthcare, commissioned a nationwide study to uncover the linkages between sexual violence and unsafe abortions in Nigeria, and to evaluate the efficacy of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition law in addressing sexual violence in Ogun, Sokoto, Jigawa, Gombe, Adamawa, Imo, Kebbi, Kwara, Kano, Delta, Rivers, and Borno states in Nigeria. From our research, it is seen that unsafe abortions are linked to sexual violence. A cross-sectional survey of 2,730 female survivors of sexual and gender-based violence aged 15 years to 49 years was conducted. The research shows that 76% of the sexual and gender-based violence survivors surveyed had experienced sexual violence. 12% of the sexual violence resulted in pregnancy. 4% were already pregnant at the time of the sexual abuse. 43% of the sexual violence-related pregnancies had delivered live babies. 33% of the sexual violence-related pregnancies had induced abortions. Here is the story of Amina, who was 15 when she was sexually abused by her uncle. Life took a negative turn as she had to drop out of school, thereby living an untold hardship.
Haka ne yana ta dame ni a gidan in ta fita. Akwai wata rana da ya zo yana ta dame ni na ki. Shi ne ya kulle kofa din ya fyaɗe ni. Da ya fyaɗe ni bai tsaya wurin ba. Kowanne rana in yarwata ta fita yana ta zuwa yana ta dame ni. Wata ya gama ban gan wata na ba. Shi ne na kira shi na gaya mashi na ce oga ban gan wata na ba ga shi kuma na ta amar wai mun je wurin da zai siya min magani da zan sha in cire ciki din nan. Da na gani wai abun bai yi ba shi ne na gaya ma yarwata. Yarwata da mijinta sun kai na wurin da zan siya magani wato a chemist kenan. Wurin da an siya min magani an bani wayan sha. Da na sha maganin shine jini ta fara fitar a jikina. Abun ya yi yawa ta ki ta kula da ni ita da mijinta. Sun ki su lura da ni. Sun sa ni a mota wai in je gida. Da na je gida na zo na wurin ba wanda zai kula da ni ba abincin ci ba komai da zan yi.
Reasons for induced abortions were the survivor was too young to have a child, or parents objected to her having a child. The partner or perpetrator made the decision on behalf of the survivor. Some survivors were no longer interested in having more children. There were also reasons like socio-economic considerations regarding childbearing or rearing and risks to maternal or fetal health. At different levels of reporting sexual violence, many barriers exist, including attitudes of law enforcement agents, culture of silence, threats from perpetrators, lack of confidence in the criminal justice system, distance to reporting centers, and stigma. To address these barriers, the legal frameworks like the Violence Against Persons Prohibition law ensures women and girls are protected from sexual violence. The Violence Against Persons Prohibition law has been passed in 2015 and has been domesticated in 34 states of the Federation. While our research showed that some states have made progress in ensuring the implementation of the law to address gender-based violence, there are cultural, systemic, and structural barriers that limit the implementation of the law in other states of the Federation. States that recorded some success in the implementation of the law had influential women in governance that led to the advocacy, for instance, the wife of the governor in that state. The Violence Against Persons Prohibition law has a good level of awareness among stakeholders that drive implementation, but despite this, cultural and social norms continue to limit the implementation of the law. In most states, just one sexual assault referral center is set up and does not function optimally because of limited funding and capacity. The limitation is because of a lack of political will and inadequate funding for the implementation of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition law. Our inability to reinforce legal systems to prevent sexual and gender-based violence will only worsen the epidemic. We can start to drive progress in the implementation of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition law by advocating for government support in providing funding for the implementation of the law, including the establishment of sexual assault referral centers. By elevating continuous advocacy in collaboration with multiple stakeholders, including traditional and religious rulers, civil society organizations, and women in governance. We can also empower women and girls in marginalized communities with adequate knowledge and information on their rights within the Violence Against Persons Prohibition law.